Well, there hasn't been a video from me for a long time. Last summer to be precise. But it had to do with the development of version 8, and now version 8 is out, and so some new videos will come in the next couple of months. What I'm showing today is, well, not only the compatibility now between Windows and Mac. It would be a bit boring. You just have a project here and then I show how it looks in the Mac. More or less the same, well, not quite, because the Mac version looks more Apple-like. But what I then also show is how to continue some work in the Mac version, so pretending, I would be the second coder, and then bringing it back into a Windows version, and then merging the two projects and see how that works. So it's actually quite easy, and in order for us to see what's actually happening, and if Coder 2 adds some bits and pieces, I created a very, very simple project. So I added 2 documents, and there are 4 quotations, and 3 of these quotations are commented. You see that here because of the comment icon, post-it note, and also the tilde in front of it. Then it has 4 codes, just called them code 1, 2, 3, 4, and gave them 4 different colors. And I've used them each of them 1 time, and they're linked to 2 other codes. So I created one simple little network. And there's one memo, which is called Susanne's memo. I'm logged in actually as Susanne, and I will log in as Coder 2 on the Mac, basically. And my first network here I have created to just link these 4 codes to each other. This is I is associated with and is part of. So using just the default relations, and there are 2 code groups here. So just to open the document, the first document here, so you've seen I've been applying code 1, 2, and 3. And if I open the document manager, so I have created one document group, and so you see the code manager with the 4 codes and the 2 code groups. So if you're new to version 8, version 8 has ribbons, which makes it actually quite easy and intuitive to work. And we will see once I move over to the Mac version, we have menus, because that's the Apple style of doing things. And as long as Apple is not introducing ribbons, the ATLAS Mac version will not have ribbons. So just to stay within the nature, basically, of each platform. Just to show you, the benefits of the ribbons. If I now highlight a piece of text so I can start coding, the document menu up here, it's offering me everything that I can do at this stage in the project. So I can in vivo code, I can open code, I can auto code this particular document. I can create a word cloud or word list, and so on. So if things are not highlighted, some of these options disappear because now I cannot do them. So Atlas kind of offers in the interface the things you can do without you knowing where the things are in the menu. So that's why the ribbon style is a bit more intuitive, because Atlas suggests what you can do at any particular moment, depending on what you have selected on the screen. What you need to kind of get used to, if you're in the habit of working with version 7 and the menus, or even version 6, if you want to open the managers, you always go back to home. So to do some of the basic things, it's always a home ribbon. There you can access the document manager, quotation code memo manager, and now also the networks and the links. So all the main objects you can access here. And you've seen it already. While I move there with my mouse, little screen tips pops up explaining what you can do. So a lot of simple instructions already kind of added into the interface that saves you a view into the manual, at least for the basics. About the manual, well, it's only the quick tool ready at the moment, but it's around 100 pages. So it gives you the basics, and I will now begin to fill in the blanks to make it a full manual. Again, it will probably take another 2 months or so before the full manual is ready. They're also working on new interface languages, which is very easier to exchange it here in the new Windows version. So it will also be German and Spanish and other languages to follow. So at this point in time, it's only English, so you don't have to look for a button for switching language. This is not there yet. So the other basic things you can do is add documents here and opening all kinds of options in the navigator. So this is now similar to the Mac version. The navigator space on the left hand side of the screen, and the project Explorer basically gives you all objects here, but you can also just have a navigator for quotations or just for codes and so on. I like the code navigator if you have a long list of codes, because you can enter a search term here, and then you can filter your list of codes, which is not available in the Explorer. So if you want to use a navigator for coding, which is possible just via drag drop, then it's better to open the code navigator than just the Explorer that shows everything. So when we move over to the Mac version, then we will see that, well, we also have a navigator there, but it's just different tabs for each of these objects. So in version 8, we get everything, so all objects which I've now opened here in the subtrees. You get the full overview of all objects here in the Explorer, and then you can open the subtrees to see what's underneath. So just to tell you a bit about some of the new things and what is still different to the Mac version. And while I'm talking about it, one very nice new way of handling things is modifying the length of quotations. So you just take your orange blob here and increase or decrease the size of the quotation. So it works for all media, whether it's image or video or audio, whatever. Just a few words on the project management. Well, all files that you add end up in the library. At this stage of the software, this is not a place you can specify. It is just within the Atlas environment. Different from version 7, where you can actually say where your project library is supposed to be. This is going to come, but at this stage it's just kind of very easy and simple. Atlas just manages all documents for you, and there's not even a difference anymore between your project file, which was called unit or HU, and your project. Version 8 only knows a project, and the user doesn't see the distinction between data and project file. Internally, it's still there to make data handling efficient, but for you, it's not there anymore. What you can link externally are audio and video files, because video and audio files can be quite large, so you don't really want to import like a 2 gig video file, and so you can link those. If you link a video file from the whatever external G drive, then it needs to be there for Atlas to access the file on the G drive. If it's suddenly the Z drive or the J drive or whatever, Atlas would not be able to locate it. But they're already working on it, so you can actually specify or redirect Atlas to a different location in case you have moved your video files. So very simple project management, but at this stage or point in time, which makes things easy. But of course, some of the more advanced stuff some users I know want is not there yet. When you save a project, Atlas specifies the location, so it's an internal save. So what you can do, and that's called the backdrop here, if you click on File, if you do a save as, basically you rename the project, which I will do once I merge. Yeah, and we see the merge here already. And what I now need to do in order to go to the Mac version is I need to export the project. So this option is basically what you need to do to transfer projects between computers, whether it's win-win or Windows to Windows or Windows to Mac, but also as your backup that you can keep, because everything is stored internally in Atlas now, and you cannot determine the location. And then if your computer crashes, or you overwrite everything because you install a new Windows version or whatever, hard disk fails and you don't have a project backup, bad. Yeah, so please get into the habit of frequently or regularly, not frequently, exporting your project and putting it wherever it's safe. Could be a server, could be your Dropbox, could be your Google Drive, could be whatever online location you're using. So I clicked on export. Now it's called project bundle. So it's again your project file and the documents as it used to be now in a bundle file, and that's the only thing that you basically can see and where you can determine the location. So in order to now be able to talk to my Mac computer, I put it on my Dropbox here, and I actually have already WinMerge folder, and yeah, all different names, so I've been playing around, you can see that. So I call it the ATLAS.ti project for Coda 1. So I've been setting it up in the Windows version, and I've been done some coding, and I want to give it now to Coda 2, who is working on a Mac. So I go now and save or export my project. Now it's in the Dropbox, can upload there, and as soon as I'm on my Mac, then I can pick it up from there. Two things, or one thing. Two things in terms of your project bundle name and your project name. So the bundle is now called exactly as my project name, what you see here, ATLAS.ti project Coda 1. If I now rename the project bundle file, this is not affecting my project name. So think of it like a box, and if you change the label on the box, it's not going to change anything inside. So if you put a different label on the box, if you unpack, or import it's called now, import your project, a bundle file, it's going to be called ATLAS.ti project for Coda 1. So when we now move over to the Mac version, what I'm going to do, I unpack it, and this is going to be my project name again. Then I will rename the project and give it the name Coda 2. So we actually then working with two different project names. So if I merge, I'm not gonna, merge. Then I know what I'm merging, and I'm not getting confused because these projects all have the same name. So think about that. You have a project name and a project bundle name. If you rename the bundle, it's not gonna rename the project. So I see you again on my Mac. Well, you don't see me there because I cannot record with an image there. You see me when I'm back on the Windows version, but you can hear me, of course, on the Mac. So now I'm on my Mac computer, and here I need to import the project that I've been just putting in my Dropbox. So, and we have this folder, merge. So here it is, ATLAS.ti project code 1. So now I'm on my Mac computer, and here I need to import the project that I've been just putting in my Dropbox. So, and we have this folder, merge. So here it is, ATLAS.ti project code 1. Now here it is. So no problems. So you see we have two documents. I have the 4 codes here, as we've seen already on the Windows screen. And what is different on my Mac screen, as I pointed out, the navigator here is organized in tabs, and we don't have like trees and subtrees. So we see the 4 quotations I have created, we see the 4 codes, the 1 memo I've made, and the 1 network. And what is Mac specific feature is this area here on the side. So depending on where I am, I get the inspector. So if I click on the code, I get the information about the code. And if I click here on the quotation, I get all the information detail on the quotation answer. So let me actually create now a new user, and I wanted to call it Coder2. So I have now Coder2, and now let me change the user. Now I want to be Coder2. Coder2 is now adding a comment. This is a comment on this code. Just for the purpose of clarity, so we can see it later on. So I made a comment on code 1, and let me write and additional sorts by Coder2 on this quotation. So we added that, and now let me apply some codes here. And let me add let me modify that segment, and I add one more code, one more code here to this already coded document. So I'm now working still on Coder 1 project, so I actually need to rename this one, because I'm actually not Coder 1, I'm Coder 2, and I don't want my project administrator to get confused, because suddenly he or she has to merge a Coder 1 project, who is whose. Yeah, so please be aware of that. So let me just open the Quotation Manager to show you something. The Mac version has a name field and a text content field for quotations. The Windows version doesn't have it. The Windows version gives you as quotation ID, by this ID here, the 1112 and so on. And as name, you get the first I'm not sure, it used to be 30 characters, but I think it's a bit more now in version 8. The first line or so of your quote. And if you want, you can rename it, which is kind of the case if you do it, if you use an interpretive approach, or you work with audio video data and want to add like little titles and so on. So the Mac version is distinguishing between the name and then the extra quotation content. And for text content in the Mac version, you get all of the full quotation lengths here in that field. So when you create a quotation here in the Mac version, you also get the text content. But for those quotations created in Windows version, it just adds quotation or Zitat if it's German, or whatever that is in Spanish, if you have a Spanish Mac screen. Yeah, so the Mac version currently changes languages to German, English, or Spanish if your operating system is set to those languages. And then also these entries here will follow the language you have set on your Mac. So that's different. And yeah, that's all what I wanted to do now here. Yeah. So here we have the creator, which is Susanna for these quotations, and then Quote2 for the other quotation. And then we also have the modifier here. So Quote2 modified that quotation, and then I've been adding those three. So we get the creator and the modifier, and it's slightly different. In the Windows version, it's called owner and author. So maybe they should adjust that over time. So let's do one more code. I add a new code, and I do this for this document, just coding the entire, I just call it this one, so we can easily see it. I don't give it a color right now, so this just has no color, and the others have color. So now I save the project, and like now in the Windows version, it's an internal save, it's in the Mac environment. I now export it so I can read again on my Mac version. So it's picking up on that folder again. So this is now actually the Mac project. Yeah, but see, now I do rename the, well, let's cancel that, because now I've only renamed the export one. Let's rename this project, and not only Quote2, but let's call this, to just make things clear, for this purpose of this tutorial only. So for your own project work, you have to think about what's logical. So now I export it here. Now it's done, and I see you back on the Windows version. So now I'm back at my Windows computer, and I close the project, and I end up here with that screen where I can now import our project. And now I'm importing the Mac project Quote2, which is again in my Dropbox. So it's now reading the data. Yeah, kind of nice now here also in the backdrop, so to speak, the name of the project, so I immediately see which project I'm dealing with and when it was last modified and so on. So now here we now see I have 5 codes. Yeah, the test one I Quote2 did on the Mac, and that code also has a definition. Yeah, we see here the little post-it and the tilde. So let's open the Code Manager. So here I see this is a comment on this code by Quotation. So it has been added, and we also have one new comment on a quotation here. An additional sort by Quotation. So you can look forward to something that will come in the future, that we actually do get different areas in the comment field by authors. That's not implemented yet, but it's kind of programmed in a way so it becomes possible in the future. So we had actually different sections here for code 1, 2 and 3, or how many people you are in the team. So then you don't actually have to enter by whom this additional comment is. So we'll see. This is just showing, I can read it about back and forth now. And whatever I've done in the Mac is now also visible in the Windows version. One other thing I want to point out while I have this up here is that we also know in this new Windows version we get a preview here of each quotation. It's going to work for text, PDF and image quotation, not yet for video as it is in the Mac, but hopefully we get that as well. So you can actually rerun your little video quotations here. So you can work much more with the Quotation Manager for data retrieval and really focusing on quotations by a particular code, because it's all filters here by the filter area. So you click on a code and then you see only the quotations related to that particular code. So that's a really new feeling to it, and I think the Quotation Manager was always often neglected. In the Mac version you also have the comment field, but in that area here on the side, the inspector. So that's where Atlas Windows is dividing this area for comments and preview. So just to speak a bit about the difference between the two, and especially if you start working across platforms, different people just knowing one or the other version of it. So what I want to do next is I want to merge. Well, now of course we pretend we only have been code 1 has been working, giving it to code 2, code 2 has been working, giving it back. So what actually now I need to do is I need to pretend code 1 has actually continued to do some work at the same time as code 2 was doing some work. So I have to open code 1's project again, moving it here into the visible area, and well, let's also do some coding here on that document that hasn't been coded before. So what you see me do is also work a lot more with the navigation area. I mean, at least than I have did in version 7. So also the new interface leads you to work in different ways. So I add now also some coding to this document, and let me add my memo here as well, and here I want to comment on this quote, which might be interesting for blah blah blah. So whatever. So this, so we get some new things going. Let me just show you this as well. I'm just linking, creating a new hyperlink by dragging and dropping on the quotation. Also has been possible before, so that's not new. You can also do the same in the Mac. So just, yeah, if I drag drop the code, well, I move the code, which I don't want, actually. So always pay attention where you are, whether you're on a code, or on a hyperlink, or on a quotation. And what you actually see here on the side, it's not so relevant for this project. I recently activated and it's still active. So I clicked on view in my document ribbon here, and you have an option here for quotation density and overview. So if you have or dense coding, or you can also not show your codes and not show quotation details, and you only see where you have done some dense coding, for example. So I've been doing some coding now on that document, and I also want to add another code. I just don't care about the boundary now. So I add code 5 to this, so we can see what happens when we merge. So I save this now, and next to save here we have the undo option or redo option. Yeah, it's 100 steps, you can go backwards or forwards again. So, and I want to now merge the Mac project into this one, where I already have done some work. So I do a save as, and I do, I leave a coder 1 and Mac coder 2. So actually we know what it is. So it does create a copy of the project, so I don't lose my other version here. So I've actually now a copy of the project, so I close this one. So now let's merge the Mac project into this one. And let's merge the project bundle file, because that's the most natural thing you would want it to do. And now unpacking it first, as we have done, just to see how the transfer works. So this is the Mac project from coder 2 that I want to merge into the coder 1 project. So there's no need to actually import it first. You can directly take the bundle and merge it together. So what you see first is a merge report, and you can then decide whether you want to keep what is in the version you currently have open, so the version, the target one, the one you merge into, or whether you want to overwrite what's in the version, in the target version. So, well, to keep it simple, basically I would always kind of start to merge into what's the master. So you can always keep this setting and say, well, keep whatever's in the master, and this overwrites everything from the source now, which is my Mac project. Yeah. Merging at this stage is very simple. So you didn't see me selecting any options, as it was the case in version 7, where you had like lots of options to choose from, which of course brings some limitation, because we cannot make certain selections, but it makes it quite simple for the moment. So what happens when you merge? Everything that is different is going to be added, and everything that's the same will be merged. So basically that was the first option. Well, it's kind of same documents, same codes. That was in version 7. That everything that's the same will be merged, and everything that is different will be added on top. This means, for the moment, you cannot merge projects that are actually ready for import for cut. So we have to wait for Atlas to write its own tool for intercodable reliability, because it's no longer compatible with CAT. Because one thing is, two things need to happen. Maybe they also happen, I'm not sure at this stage. You need to be able to add quotations, so the quotations of code 2, so CAT can actually compare these quotations, so because that was a prerequisite to preparing output for CAT. And then the output that CAT needs is no longer there. The reports in version 8, they look nicer now, but they're not compatible anymore with, because CAT needs ASCII text. And even if you save it ASCII text, the way it is presented from the formatting much nicer base doesn't talk to CAT anymore. So keep that in mind when you move over to version 8 and being able to have the compatibility between Mac and Windows. You need to wait for coder or intercoder reliability tool, and the most likely option it's gonna be inside Atlas this time. So it realizes that we have a number of merge conflicts here, or things that will be added. A comment here on code 1. Then I have been writing something in Susanne's memo, so that comes from the master. And this is always the Mac. This is the Mac project. This is my Windows project. So it's also called master now. That's all the same. So this is all going to be added. And then we have a new comment, and the size has been modified. So we have actually a new location. So we have increased the size, remember? And then there are some issues with relations, because the layout direction basically is defined differently in the Mac and the Windows. So I haven't done any of that, but that's by default. So I just left it in. I just adjusted some of the layout directions now, but not all, just to show you that the default layout direction in the Mac currently are defined differently than in the Windows version, and that's they basically all down up in the Mac version, and all of these continued by, contradicts, criticizes, and so on, they're all left right in the Windows version. I hardly use the layout directions, because I either place notes where I want them, or with new automatic layouts in version 8 you don't need that anymore. Anyway, but that's why we get lots of long report here, because the layout directions are different. And there's probably also some default definition that are different in the Windows and Mac version. That's why we get that report. So we just say, well, just please keep everything how it is in the master, and you click on merge. And then you get your detailed merge report. And what I usually do with that merge report is I check what is it's in the target project, which is called current project, and the project I'm importing, and whether the result makes sense, whether it's plausible. And then you get all the details, which could be quite lengthy if you have a real big project, which I usually ignore. But most important is that table here, so you get immediately a feeling whether it's plausible or not. And if it's not, then, well, you can just get rid of it and start again, or check out your two projects and start again. So you can save and print. I just leave it for now. So now we have done the merge, and I can save it now. And if you don't like it, well, if you check in and you don't like it, there's an undo. So we can undo things now. So let's see how the documents look like now. So that was added, remember? So this is the Quotation Manager, and one thing I noticed, and I just double check now, and actually I reopened or recreated the report again. We have, or Quotation actually has added a comment here, and that's no longer here, and that has to do It was in the report. And now this is quotation 1.2, and there is a comment. There was one by coder 1 and another one by coder 2, or an additional one, and in addition has been modified. So currently we have no option actually to change these things, so it's very simple at this stage. So actually what we would have liked to do is be able to say, well, for the comment on quotation 2 we actually want this option, we want to actually overwrite the existing one, but we can only either do overwrite everything that comes from the Mac version, or everything that comes from the master version, so it's an either or. So I think in the future you will get actually not just a report like this, but a clickable table where you can actually say, well, now this I want to keep from the master, and this I want to keep from the project that I'm currently importing. So let me now merge, and let's pay attention to now quotation 1.2, and I check overwrite and I merge. So the summary report is not so important, but see what's happening now. So actually now the additional sorts by coder 2 are actually in here. And where is quotation 1.2? So it actually keeps the extension, the modification of that what was done in the Mac version. So something we would like to see being improved over time, so we actually can be in better control if you want to keep or overwrite something depending on where it is coming from. So right now it's an either or, just so that you know. One other thing you need to pay attention to is I have been working on the master file, so to speak, and I've been deleting quotations or deleting coded segments or codes altogether because I've been cleaning up the project. And then I merge a project into it, so another coder has continued to work, but the codes I have deleted, or also the quotations are in there. When I merge, the codes are back in. Because how should Atlas know? Atlas only kind of knows, well, I should merge these two projects, and these other projects still has these codes, and if I merge, well, it's not there in the other project, so I add these codes that you already have deleted in the master project. So keep that in mind. Substraction, in a sense, well, it's only possible if you do it after merging and you make all the changes, everything that you want to delete or remove from a project in the master copy, in the merged master copy, and then you send out that merged master copy to everyone else. So don't kind of do this work in between, and then you get projects in and you merge and everything is back in there, and your work is lost, so to speak, and you have to redo it. So that needs to be done in a particular sequence in order for you to be able to do that. So this is, well, already quite long, and I hope I've given you some ideas, and I've been talking about also a little bit about the difference between the Mac and the Windows version, and I've shown you that you can exchange projects back and forth, and how merging works. And I hope I will add new videos a bit sooner from now on, again after now version 8 is released. Goodbye for now.